Good afternoon, and once again, welcome to VetNet. My name is Jason Dozier, Manager of Plans and Operations here at Hire Heroes USA. I'm joined by two of our veteran transition specialists, Eric Wooten, you're in San Diego, right, Eric? I always forget what office you're in.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in San Diego.
Diego, and then Daniel Bucheri in our Raleigh, North Carolina office, and I'm here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. So you can't tell we are a national nonprofit. We have 7 offices around the country, and Hire Heroes works to make sure that veterans are better prepared to find employment once they get out of the military. And we do classes every week at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. A little bit of background on what VetNet is. The ongoing partnership between ourselves here at Hire Heroes USA, uh, veterans and military families at Syracuse University, and we've been doing this for 2 years now, and we do classes every week on subjects ranging from resume writing, reviewing. Today we'll be talking about networking, the whole customer the whole 9 yards of living in the military. And with that being said, that's pretty much all I have. Eric and Danielle, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, I'm Eric Wooten. I'm a veteran treasure specialist out of San Diego, like Jason said. Um, I'd like to say thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. And before I get any further, if you hear any really loud noises, that'd be aircraft taking off the San Diego airport like a block away. You just fly right overhead, so it gets a little loud here sometimes. Um, and what I'd also like to say what a veteran transition specialist is, which is we each help a veteran in a transition out of the military and into civilian employment. It doesn't always have to be out of the military, it could be from one job to another, but our ultimate goal is to help them find that employment and give them all the encouragement and tools they need to go over a little bit about my background. I was in the Navy for 12 years, and when I separated, I went on to school and earned my master's degree in workforce education and development. Um, During that time, I would say maybe it was a little rough transition, but I reached out to a lot of organizations and worked with a lot of people, and I learned a lot about the actual transition process. And in doing so, and coupled with my education, it led me to want to help out other veterans so that they don't have as rough a transition as I have. Since I've been here at Hire Heroes USA, I've helped out a lot of veterans and I've facilitated quite a few classes. And the ultimate payoff for me doing all this is to see them succeed and reach their goals. And so it's what I enjoy doing here, and it's also why I'm here with this VetNet class. One thing that I always touch on when I'm facilitating the classes is the networking. That's one of my favorite um, subjects to address during the classes, and it's one that's really important, and that's why we're here today to address that. Before we get started with that, I'm going to turn over to Danielle. Danielle.
So I didn't hear you broke up a little bit. My name is Danielle, and I'm out of the Raleigh office, like Jason had said. My background is not, I didn't come from a military background at all. I did more of the nonprofit work. I worked with a breast cancer nonprofit here in Raleigh as I was trying to finish up my master's degree. But I do have a lot of friends that have been in the military and separated and saw the hard time that they had transitioning back to being a civilian, so I know that there's the real need for it. So I really enjoy being able to help out veterans and get them on the right track.
All right, thank you, Danielle. And so our course in general is a networking overview. We're going to get into the subtitle is How Do I Get My Foot in the Door? And that's just the general overview of what networking is and different types of networks that you can be involved with, who you can contact, and who is your network, and also some of the do's and don'ts of networking. And we'll touch a little bit about the online presence, which if you're watching this, then you realize that the online portion is getting more important now as everything becomes more digital. So there's a lot more emphasis on LinkedIn and things like that today. So with all that being said, what I like to call networking is, and teaching networking is how to make friends. And I don't say that in a snarky manner. A lot of people say, "Oh, I know how to make friends. I make friends all the time." But would those friends vouch for you and get you hired? And to turn it around, would you vouch for those friends and get them hired and go to your employer and say, "Yeah, this is a great guy to bring into our organization"? We're not talking about making drinking buddies here. We're talking about actual acquaintances that could lead to employment in the future. So as friends, but professional friends. On the next slide, we're going to go over our actual definition of what is networking. Um, Networking is creating, building, and maintaining informal relationships with individuals who can assist you in learning more about your desired career or profession. Putting you in contact with an individual who is in a hiring position, being a voice to speak for you during the hiring process, providing you with mentorship. Now, that's a pretty succinct definition of what networking is. And like I said before, it's a friend. It's somebody who will vouch for you and is interested in having you work with them. So it's reaching out to people you already know, developing contacts with people you don't know, so that ultimately it'll lead to a position. And when you approach networking, don't approach it as, how is this person going to get me a job? Approach it with a genuine want to be friends with that person and to have them work for you to get that employment. In my own personal experience, getting hired with Hire Heroes USA, it was a long process of multiple networks to get here. And it involved LinkedIn, education, and my experience in the military. I met friends in the military who led me to my degree plan. During my degree plan, I associated with a professional network that led me to another organization similar to Hire Heroes USA, and I started working with them. And during that whole process, I was gaining experience in what I do today. So I got reached out to on LinkedIn from an employee here at Hire Heroes USA and said he'd be a perfect fit for Hire Heroes USA to apply for this job. But it was all because I was building that network all along that time. Danielle, did you have a similar experience?
I had a similar experience. Mine was with a professor at school. I never really knew where I was going to end up after school. I was talking to the professor one day, and she kind of turned into more of a mentor for me. But when I started telling her what I was interested in, what the kind of things I wanted to work in were, she put me in touch with somebody that she had been an intern for back when she was in college years and years and years ago. And without that, I never would have moved to Raleigh, and then in turn, I never would have gotten this job. So, yeah, I can attribute having this job, I guess, to that one connection that I made.
Yeah, and you never know what part of your network is going to lead to a job. And as we get into the slides further on, we'll get into more depth. But I'd say that it's everybody. It's all the people you know, all your friends, all your acquaintances. Anybody can lead to a job, and you just have to keep that in mind at all times. On the next slide, we'll go into a basic overview of what networking is. And then these will all be covered in the following slides. So it's just a basic rundown of developing the contacts, preparing for your networking when you're actually, before you go out and start talking to people, and then how you actually network, and then what you do once it's done. So on the next slide, developing a list of contacts. All right, this is your network. It can, like you said before, it can come from anywhere: friends, relatives, colleagues, and acquaintances, or former employers, as your boss, your manager, stuff like that. Internship supervisors, transition coordinators. That's people like us, or for veterans, the transition assistance that you get once you're getting out of the military. I think it's called PRS now, or they used to be called TAP. And those people can lead you to employment. Volunteer work coordinators. I did a lot of volunteering before I got this job. Like practically all my experience for between military to when I got hired here was voluntary experience, but it was actual work experience, and the people I worked with vouched for me at that process. Um, Additional networks. The one that's really important is LinkedIn, which we'll touch on a little bit more later. But there could also be things like if you're going to public speaking or being a manager, your Toastmasters, or any other professional organization you can find. There are millions out there. It's just where to look, and as simple as a Google search on industry professional networks. So IT, information technology professional network. Do a Google search on that, and it starts there. There's so many different ones. Just join up, start talking to people. For me personally, there's the training development networks that I joined on, and they are it's sometimes expensive to join, but I found different ways to get in without paying too much money, like just meeting people that are in those networks and meeting people through them. So there's always those opportunities out there. And then there's also networking events, and there's specific networking events, and then there's also like hiring fairs, job fairs that can also turn into networking events for you. It might turn out you might not get hired specifically for a job that they're advertising at that job fair, but if you get in with the person there and talk to them, like, hey, I know that you're not advertising a position for a field technician here, but I have a lot of experience in field technician and really want to work with this organization, and just develop that contact from there. Is there anything you want to add, Danielle?
Yeah, I guess I have a couple of examples. I know I'm part of a local Raleigh nonprofit listserv, so I get emails all the time about different nonprofit events, and then they also send out different nonprofit jobs. So that's something that I think would be really beneficial for y'all to join. There's also, at least I know at my university and most universities, they have alumni associations, and they do networking luncheons, and they also host job fairs. So that's also a really great opportunity. And I've gone to a couple different networking events that have yielded me different internship possibilities and opportunities and all that. So everything you've been saying is right on the head.
Yeah, there's exactly what you said with the nonprofit. A lot of times, the people that volunteer for nonprofits, they're either looking to gain experience there, or they're already employed. And those that are already employed, that can lead you into their field, their job. And it's as simple as volunteering. So it's not like you need credentials to volunteer. There's so many different different ways to access the volunteering. A lot of it's online now. Like there's Volunteer Match, Idealist, plenty of just like job postings for volunteering opportunities. And then like Danielle said, networking events. Here in San Diego, we have NavNet, which is a networking event for employers who are associated with the military here in San Diego. And it happens every Friday morning. You go there and you start just talking to people in those industries, and that could lead to employment. What I do want to say is that all these friends, relatives, colleagues, and acquaintances, and like we said before, you never know who's going to lead to a job. So what I will say is don't burn any bridges. Don't turn anybody away. Don't shut anybody down, because you never know what will turn into an opportunity. On the next slide, we're going to be preparing for your networking opportunities. This is getting ready to go out and find your to actually get out and start networking. This is when you determine what you need to know before you go there, and what you want to know once you get there. So when you go to a networking event, or this is the same opportunity, so it's like not just a formal networking event. It could be informal, a lunch, just meeting somebody, a friend or something like that that you want to, let's say you have a friend that works for a company you want to work for, and they are, and you're just going out to like go bowling with them or something. But before you go, you want to see if you can turn that into an opportunity. So this is you're doing your homework before you go. Now, when you get there, don't show up and go by a script. Don't just show up and be like, hey, this is, and like you know this person for a few days or something, and you know, it's not like you're going to go in there and be like, hi, my name is Eric, and I've been a Navy veteran for 12 years, and just start going through a script, even though you already met the person. But just establish some bullet points that you want to go by, and some ideas that you want to get across, and some information that you want from that person, and then flow naturally. And it's all about being natural. It's making friends. Don't. The worst thing is like going to a networking event and showing up there and going up to a person and be like, "Hi, I was a Navy veteran for 12 years," and they're like, "Oh, really? What were you working on?" And they cut off your introduction right there, and you're at a loss for words because you want to keep going with your introduction. So you want to keep it natural. You want to know what you want to say as far as having your 1 minute introduction, your elevator speech, but you want to be natural with it. So what we're talking about with the preparing for networking is doing research on the company, studying its mission, studying what kind of jobs is available, what kind of people are there, what kind of people you're going to be meeting at that company, and develop a few questions that can help you out in the networking, because everybody likes to talk about themselves. So if you just go in there with that and and it's not just, don't try to find out some obscure question like, oh, you worked with Rockwell Collins. How about that thing, that jitsu popular you were working on back in the 80s? How's that working out for you now? Because one, that person probably doesn't know what you're talking about, and two, it might have not turned out so well. So just keep it topical, keep it in the positive light. A good idea is to check out like news postings about the organization that are successful. Perfect opportunity is if a company has an initiative to hire 1,000 more employees. So if the person's like, hey, I heard Rockwell Collins is going to be hiring 1,000 more employees. How's that going for you? And this, the kind of people you're talking to, which should know about that. Top four is at the top of their list of things that's going on in the company. So you can bring up that topic, let them talk for a while, and act interested. Because you should be interested. Genuine friendship here. You want to get to know this person occasionally. Right. And then we also say on the slide for informal situations, prepare a 1 minute introduction. This is always called an elevator speech. And also, if you develop a resume through Hire Careers USA, you follow along in our previous segments, you know about the professional summary. This is the top portion of your resume, and this outlines exactly what you are and what you're trying to do, and relays the most important information. Now, you're not going to go, like you said before, you're not going to go in there and just give a speech. You're going to go in there and you're going to be natural about it. You're going to say what you have to say, the key points, but you're going to be ready for them to interrupt you, ask questions about what you're saying. It's simple as, I supervise 12 people. Oh, really? What did you supervise them in? You got to be ready for those questions. Anything you want to add to that?
I just really wanted to reiterate your point of doing your research on the company, because you're going to sound really silly if you go up to an employer or a possible employer and you ask a question that you can find on the website or you could find on their LinkedIn or anything like that. You want to do what you said, do your research. If you come up and ask about something that was just posted in the newspaper that day, they're going to be really impressed. They're going to think, wow, this person really did their homework. They're really actually interested in our company. So I just wanted to reiterate that point.
Yeah, it's really important that you know the company before you talk to the person. Now you can just develop a friendship with the person, not knowing so much about the company, but it's not going to turn into that professional friendship that you need. So you want to have something to talk about. You can't just walk up to a person and be like, so how's the weather? And then it's fine. And then you're like, cool. And
Good talk.
Yeah, good talk. See you later. You go network with this other person. You don't have nothing to talk about, but at least that's a common ground you can talk about, is the company that the person works for. At least you know he has something to say, he or she has something to say about that. Right, and like I said, bullet points, not script. Don't stick to a script. It's setting yourself up for failure if you're going there and like, I have to say these things. If I don't say these things, then I'm not networking. You got to be natural about it. And on the next slide, this is while you are networking. So that was the preparation, and now you're in there. You're networking with somebody one way or another through networking event, meeting friends, um, even online. Um, so you got to be ready to begin the conversation. You can't just go stand beside somebody and expect them to start networking with you. It happens. People walk up to you. I mean, if you're an interesting looking person, then they'll walk up to you and say something. But usually, you have to initiate the conversation if you really want to get out there and network. So have all your bullet points ready for your 1 minute commercial about yourself, your elevator speech. And this is just like preparing for an interview. You got to have your key accomplishments and what you know you did from your resume so that you can talk about those things. Because you got your basic information of your key accomplishments, but you need to expand on that and say, I supervise 12 people in training and development. So what does that mean? That's where you expand on it and you talk to the person. And then the most important thing is asking a question. So like I said before, everybody likes to talk about themselves. It's a perfect opportunity. So what's it like working for Lockheed Martin? What's it like here? And hopefully they won't say, I hate it, I'm about to quit. But in most cases, it'll go into a good conversation, and you will get a lot of information from them, and you just keep asking questions about what they're talking about. That's the easiest way to keep the conversation going is to ask a question. It's like improv. You got to keep the conversation going. Don't just if they ask you a question, don't just say yes. You got to actually engage in the conversation. Definitely avoid politics, religion, and all the hot topic issues. And I would add to that any negative press about the organization. Don't go there. I heard you fired 5,000 people. I'm pretty sure you need to hire another one. So you gotta make sure that you are totally aware of the conversation and work the room alone. Don't walk up to one person with 20 people and expect to get a lot of information out of them because those 20 people are going to talk to them too. So walk around by yourself, engage in people. And I mean, if you want to introduce one of your friends, that's fine, but that friend might be in a position that you could have done. I mean, so walk around, engage in people by yourself. And then at the end of it, you're going to ask for that contact business card. The most important point. If they don't have a business card, like, can I get your email address? Can I get your phone number? I want to talk to you more about this. This is a really engaging conversation. I learned a lot, and I think you're a great person. Just engage the person, get that business card. And what I would like to add to that is, as soon as you get that business card and you walk away from that person, write down key points of your conversation. Because you might not remember that person just by business card. I mean, they might have the name Bob Smith, and you might get 3 Bob Smith business cards at this networking event or wherever you were, and you don't know which one is which. You write down something about the person, organization, or the conversation you have. And this will lead into the next slide, but before we go there, anything you want to add, Daniel?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the business cards. Obviously, yeah, you want to take as many business cards as you can, but it's also really important for you to have a lot of business cards with you so that you can hand them out. Because the last thing you want is to be having a really stimulating conversation and this person be super interested in you, and then they say, well, do you have a business card? And you're like, oh, no. And then they might think, well, this person isn't as serious as I thought they were. If they're just going to write down their email on a napkin or something and give it to me. So it's really important for you to also carry around a lot of business cards.
Definitely. And when you have a lot of people like, I'm not employed, I don't have a business card, what am I going to do? One of the perfect places, not advertised, but just saying, when I was in my networking and finding employment segment of my life, I went to Vista Print. I got a bunch of business cards there. And don't make it cheesy. Don't put on there any kind of slogan or something like that. In certain situations, you could put what job you're aspiring for, but you never know if like you go another way and you get the business card. Yeah, ignore that title I put on there. It doesn't matter. You gotta just keep it simple. Put your name, phone number, email address, and just have those ready when you get any kind of networking opportunity. Good point, Daniel. On the next slide, this is after the networking session, and like I said, that business card and that contact afterwards is really important because you can't engage with them without that after networking session. Even if you don't get the business card, you gotta get the phone number, or email, and like I said, um, you want to have something to re-engage that person afterwards. So if you make a note of it, make a note of how the conversation went, what you talked about, or any other thing that stood out to you in the conversation, then when you do a follow-up thank you note or email or phone call, then you can bring that back up and you can touch back on those points that you had during the conversation, and it shows that person that you were actually genuine and engaged in the conversation. This is also really important during um, your job interviews. After you do an interview, same thing. Make a note, call them up, or send a thank you email, and re-engage them with that topic that you made a note about. When you do send your thank you email, ask them if you can keep in contact with them. You can keep talking to them because you want to engage them and um, have them respond to you. Give them some questions, have them respond, because that's the easiest way to keep it going. Um, Always maintain records about the conversation. You want to know who you were talking to, what you talked about, so that if they ever have a question, then you can respond in time. You always want to maintain those conversations with the contacts, the records, so that you can re-engage. Because if you're networking with 1,000 people, how are you going to remember 10 of those people that you talked to the first networking event you went to? You've got to maintain those records. And then finally, find contacts through social media sites. The ones that you've already made, you can look them up on LinkedIn. When you do, you got to remember to be professional, which we'll be touching on in the next slide. And also, don't be pushy. Don't send them an email, and if they don't respond in 2 days, send them another email and say, "Hey, why didn't you respond? I'm an interesting person. You should be talking to me." You gotta not be pushy with them. Perfect example. I've been working here for a couple months, and somebody reached out to me because we had another opening here in the office through LinkedIn. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm real interested in LinkedIn." Well, I wasn't even there that day, and I wasn't on LinkedIn. And the next day, they sent a follow-up email saying, "Well, I see that you really care about helping out veterans," but I never even had a chance to engage with the person before he already got upset with me, and it already put a sour note on our conversation. I still was very courteous with him and talked to my manager about him because he was interested in applying for the position. He had good credentials, but that sour note may have led to him not being employed just because of the way he engaged in that networking opportunity. Anything you want to add, Daniel?
No, I think you touched on all of that.
Okay, on the next slide, this is the Professionalism Online, and this is what I'm talking about with not being pushy, making sure that you engage in a positive manner. Also, before you even start, and I'd say before you anything else, make sure you clean up your Facebook Twitter if you can, and all that. Make sure you don't have pictures out there with your frat buddies drinking, going to keg stands, and then go to network events like, "Hey, look me up on Facebook." You know, it might send the wrong message. But you should do that before your networking. You should be cleaning up your profile before you're looking for employment. And also, when you once you have engaged with people, you've made connections. Keep your posts appropriate. Don't start posting anything that could be controversial, religion, politics, anything like that. Before, during, or after you found employment. before you start looking for employment, while you're looking for employment, and even while you're employed. You don't want to put that stuff out there because that could all ultimately lead to having just a bad situation all around. Um, on top of that, be aware of your friends as well. You might keep your profile as clean as possible on Facebook, where you're not showing you're doing kickstand, and then your friends like, that was a great picture. I'm putting it on there and I'm tagging you. So it can still turn around and really mess up your opportunities. And then, like I said, be polite when sending messages and replying, and always reply. Always be courteous when you reply, and always reply. You don't want to just leave them hanging for 2 weeks. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't get back to you. I was busy washing my car. You gotta always engage in the person and make sure they know that you are interested. Is there anything you want to add, Danielle?
I guess just, the whole cleaning up your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and everything. A lot of people don't realize that when people look at these social media sites, they're already assessing what kind of person you are. It doesn't matter what you're put. Like, if you post that you are part of the SPCA, they're like, oh, well, this person's really caring and sweet and loves animals. Like, you need to be really careful about what you're posting, what kind of groups you're joining, all that kind of stuff. Most people think that it's not that big of a deal, but it is that big of a deal. I know I've heard of people not getting jobs, and the employer said, well, we didn't like what was on your Twitter. And the person's like, I thought my Twitter was private, but apparently it's not. So
they always have ways of finding whatever. If it was ever posted to the internet, it's out there. When I facilitate the networking class, that's what I always start with. Is like, you have really when you're searching for employment, you have 3 first impressions. First one is your application and resume. That's your first impression to them. You get that. And the second one, depending on the organization, is probably going to be your social media profile. So as soon as they get that application, that resume, they're going to look you up on LinkedIn. They're going to look for you on Facebook. They're going to find out everything they can about you so that they're prepared. They're doing their homework on you. So you want to make sure that you put your best face forward before they even get that opportunity. And the same applies to networking. All right, so the last 2 slides are going to be the do's and don'ts of networking. The first slide is the do's. This is what you want to do when you're actually getting out there and networking. You want to ask for advice and suggestions. Advice on how to find employment there, suggestions on what you should do, and it could be advice on what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Don't be too pushy about that. It's like saying, do you think I should do this? Do you think? Don't be so unnatural about it, but just in the casual conversation, ask them for advice and suggestions on how you can possibly find employment with the organization. And ask questions regarding your target company. This is what Coach Calvin said, that you did your research on the company, you go to them, and you might ask questions that you already know the answer to. Right? You know the mission, you have a general idea, and you bring that up in the questions like, could you elaborate on this more? And even if you already know like way in depth more than this person that you're talking to does, but that is interesting. Thank you for sharing that. You want to never shut them like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know more about your mission for your company than you do. You don't want to have any kind of attitude like that. You want to always engage them and get every bit of information you can from them. Always know what's on your resumes, your skills and your experience, and this should be across the board for all parts of your of the employment process. Always know what's on your resume. Don't ever get in a situation where they say, hey, it says this on your resume, and you're like, oh, really? It's like you wrote this resume and you don't even know what's on your own resume. You always gotta know what's on there and know more than what is on your resume. Expand on every one of your bullet points. Ask for referrals. Ask this person if he knows or he or she knows somebody that you can talk to about employment or just more networking opportunities. Don't be like, hey, who's your hiring manager? Right? Is there anybody here that works in this department that I might be able to talk to? Because I'm really interested in working in the art department. something like that. Um, as for their preferred method of communication, um, some people don't want to talk about phones. Some people never check their email. So it always helps to ask that before you send the email and they never respond, and you're like, this guy doesn't like me. Maybe he just doesn't check his email, or maybe he has 5 or 6 different email accounts, and that's one of them that he doesn't check that much, you know. Or maybe you call them up first thing, and they're like, I would really prefer you to email me. I'm kind of busy, and you set that sour tone and ruin that opportunity. Um, Anything you want to add, Danielle?
No, I think we're good on that.
Okay. And then the don'ts, yeah, these are pretty self-explanatory. You don't walk up to the person and be like, hey, can you get me hired here? Like, you want to engage the person. You want to make friends with them first. You want to talk to them, and then lead that into it, and inadvertently ask them if they can get you the job. Don't say, can you give me a job? That should never be the question. It should be, so what it's like, what is it like being employed here? What was the experience of the last person that you got employed here? Are they working out for them? Stuff like that. Um, don't lead the conversation with asking for a referral. Don't be like, hey, I like this company you're working for, and I got all the experience you need. Can you refer me to this job? No, you want to again engage the person first. Don't forget to follow up and send a thank you email or phone call, depending on their method of contact. And this is not just for networking. This is also especially true for interviewing. Always follow up the person. Always, like the very next day at the most, send them an email, call them up, thank you for the conversation, and refer back to your notes that you took up the conversation, so that you'll be engaging them. And don't say no. Don't stop the conversation with yes or no answers to begin with. And 2, don't be negative. Don't say no about what they're asking you. Don't if they say we have a volunteer opportunity, I would love to do a volunteer opportunity. Yes, I want to come take care of children at the Christmas party. Even though you might not want to do that, that's not the time to say that. This is pretty much the last slide of this conversation. Is there anything else you want to add, Danielle?
Just on the don't ask the question, can you help me find a job? I think, and you can probably speak to it too, but I think that's the biggest turnoff is when somebody's just like, give me a job or help me find a, like, instead of saying that, you should say, can you tell me more about whatever field you're interested in, or can you tell me more about how I could fix my resume, or can you help me with my interview skills? Those are all questions that are going to end in people helping you. Saying, can you help me find a job, just comes off as lazy, as if you need somebody else to find the job for you. So it's more of a, what's the saying? It's you can lead a camel to water, but you can't make them drink. It's like, you can help these people all you want, but I'm not just going to find you a job.
Right. And like you said, it's not, you don't want to just lead with that, because you want to be genuine in the conversation. You want them to think that you actually care and you actually want to engage with them first. And it's a night and day difference. You want, like I said before, this is how to make friends, how to network. And then one thing I would like to add is that if you're an introvert and you're not the kind of person that engages these kind of people, it's really hard to just walk with somebody and start talking to them. One thing that helps, that it sounds a little silly, but just think of yourself as somebody else. It's acting. Think of the coolest person you know. For me, it's Brad Pitt. I'm going to go in. I'm Brad Pitt at this networking event, and I'm just going to think, how would he handle this situation? What would he say? And I mean, if you've seen enough of a person's movies, or if your best friend is Enrico Suave and he knows how to talk to people no matter what, think of how that person handles the situation and then engage it like that person. Final slide is if there's any questions. I would say um, when this is posted up on YouTube and um, available for anybody to watch. Just leave your comments, questions below, and then we'll be sure to get back to you and answer those questions. Also, we're all available at our email addresses posted at the bottom of our title bars, and we are always here and ready to help people better in their transition.